What's up, guys? Victor here, back with Torogal Talks. As promised, I'm back to make another preview video of UFC 211. We're going to be talking about the prelims this time. These are going to be the fights that are going to be showing up on FX. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get to it. Alright, so the first fight that we're going to talk about is James Vick against Polo Reyes. James Vick is 10-1, 6-1 in the UFC. He's got a lot of finishes by submission. He's got 5 of them. Good boxing, pretty big lightweight, 6'3", so that's pretty big even for a middleweight. So I think James Vick can become a pretty big fighter in the lightweight division, possibly even welterweight division, depending on how everything happens with him. I think in this division he's a little bit slower than most of the guys. A lot of the guys have been using a lot of footwork to try to put him against the cage and put pressure on him. And I think this is probably what Polo Reyes is going to try to do in this fight. I think actually staying on the outside against James Vick is always a bad idea. You always have to try to cut the angles on him, always trying to put him against the cage, because if you don't do that with that 6'3" frame, he's going to knock people out, he's going to throw some leg kicks from the outside, and he's going to use his boxing. He's got some pretty good boxing, so you got to be careful with that. Pretty good submission too, so a lot of times when these guys are coming for the takedown, they have to watch out for their necks, which is why it's always smart to try to make sure you put the guy against the cage first instead of trying to get those takedowns in the middle of the ring. A lot of times when you try to get a takedown in the middle of the ring, unless it's a perfect timing situation where you're coming off of defending a strike, or you're moving away from a strike and you get to the correct angle so you can get a takedown, unless it's those type of situations, I think you're better off trying to stay away from that against James Vick, because those guillotines, those anaconda chokes, those Darce chokes will come, so you got to be careful with that. Polo Reyes, pretty fast, faster than James Vick. Pretty good movement. Has shown that he can fight in the outside. Much preferably likes to stay on the inside and bang. Does not mind getting hit at all. His last fight, he was playing a little bit more safer, so we got him to the decision. But when he goes all out in his other fights, he gets a lot of KOs. He has 7 wins and 5 of them are KOs, TKO. So, definitely heavy hands, good striker, always getting better every fight you see him. So you're most likely going to see a better fighter than you saw him in the last fight. I also think the same thing about James Vick. He's going to be a better fighter. His footwork is going to get a little bit better, and he's going to be able to use his length a little bit more. I see James Vick taking this one, especially with that size. I just think a lot of guys don't match up really well with him. His only loss in the UFC is again against Beneil Dariush, who's one of the best lightweights in the world. So there's no knock losing to Beneil Dariush. It's not like he lost to any bums. So it's going to be an exciting fight. Definitely something that you can see whoever wins this fight gets into a little bit higher in the rankings. I see James Vick much ahead of Polo Reyes at this time, especially in development as a fighter. So I'm picking James Vick of taking this one. Probably, I believe, from a submission, coming in from these actually wild takedowns from the outside after being able to use boxing with distance. I see him getting another choke, another guillotine or anaconda submission. But hey, you never know in the world of mixed martial arts. If Polo Reyes connects, it can definitely be night-night. So we'll see how everything happens. But definitely an exciting fight. Definitely another exciting lightweight fight. All right, so the next fight we're talking about is an exciting fight in the middleweight division. David Branch against Krzysztof Jotko. Christophe Jackal is number 9 in the UFC, number 13 in Fight Matrix, 19-1 overall, 6-1 in the UFC. He's a good overall fighter, very well-rounded fighter. He did a really good job against Thales Leitos on the ground, showed a lot of pretty good grounding skills in there, so definitely showed that he can hang with the top grappler. And then his impressive KO against Tendon McCrory shows you he definitely has got some knockout power. He definitely seems like a very talented fighter that has not shown He has not shown everything that he can do yet inside the octagon. You can definitely see that he's got a really, really big upside, in my opinion. I think he can become a pretty good contender in the middleweight division in the future in the UFC. I think with a couple of fights, you can definitely see him in the upper echelon, and definitely getting a big win against David Branch. This is definitely going to be, in my opinion, would definitely be his biggest win in his career. David Branch is a former light heavyweight champion and middleweight champion over a World Series of Fighting. He's in a 10-fight win streak. His last loss was actually to the Beast, Anthony Johnson. He's an experienced fighter. He's got some good takedowns, good boxing, and he's actually a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt on the Renzo Gracie, which is pretty serious. He's number 16 on Fight Matrix. I think this is going to be a good fight, 20-3 overall. It's going to be a big test for Jotko. It's going to be a big test for David Branch coming into UFC. They're definitely not giving him any easy fights straight off the bat. Fighting a guy that could be a future contender right away, and a guy with a pretty big upside. So I see Christophe Jotko winning this fight. I see him coming up and just matching up to the more experienced fighter, and showing everybody what he's all about, and showing all that talent that he actually has. So we'll see how everything happens inside of the octagon. Obviously, we all know everything gets different once you actually get in there. But I think I see Jotko getting the win on this one. I see this going to a decision. I see David Branch being a very, very experienced fighter, so definitely trying to get Jotko against the cage, which is going to slow Jotko down. Jotko is going to be trying to look for a little bit of the outside game, stay away from a little bit, stay away from the clinch game, and definitely if it gets to any type of close type of encounters, I see him throwing some elbows and knees and anything to try to get some separation and hurting David Branch. I see him, again, trying to stay on the outside and trying to get that knockout. If it goes to a grappling match, I don't see him being 100% outmatched, but I definitely see David Branch trying to stay on top and trying to put some pressure on him. When on the ground, when you're on your back, it is very, very tough, especially when you got a pretty big, experienced fighter that's been known to fight guys that are a lot bigger than everybody at the light heavyweight division. He's had some pretty impressive wins, especially against Vinny Magalhães, in my opinion, and David Branch. So he's no bum. So Jotko is going to have his hand full. But I see Jotko getting his hands raised at the end of the day. Again, exciting fighter, and definitely going to be a top contender in the future in the UFC. So the next fight we're going to be talking about is in the featherweight division. Skelly against Jason Knight. Skelly, both of these guys are actually unranked in the UFC. Skelly is number 17 in Fight Matrix. 32-year-old fighter. Is going to be 32 at the day of the fight. 17-2 overall, 6-2 in the UFC. Both of these guys are submission artists. They have a lot of submission wins. One of Skelly's most impressive wins was against Maximo Blanco when he finished him and within seconds with that anaconda that came out of nowhere. He went up for the front kick, pulled into a guillotine, and then switched it off to an anaconda and put Maximo Blanco to sleep. He's coming off of a pretty good camp in Combat Club. His striking coach is Henry Hoof. His Achilles heel in his fight game at this point, if you're going to think about takedown submissions and stand-up, would be stand-up. I think his clinch game is pretty good too. So I think most of the stuff that you're going to be looking for, Skelly getting a little bit better as his striking with the good coach like that. You're going to definitely see. You should see some definite jumps, which is going to make him a top contender in the future if he definitely continues to get a winning streaks here. With a fight against Jason Knight, who's an exciting 24-year-old fighter that's 16-2 and 3-1 in the UFC. He's got already a name for him for being just a game fighter, just being an exciting fighter. So if Skelly can actually get a win against Jason Knight, would definitely put him up there in the rankings. Jason Knight, trying to do the same thing. Again, 16-2, 3-1. Is a fighter that is definitely game at any situation. He will get into a brawl. He will get into a grappling matches, whatever the case may be. He's going to be looking for finishes, pulling guard. He's going to try to be a little bit unpredictable. 24 years old, exciting fighter. We could see some big things from Jason Knight as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Knight could actually get a win in this fight as well. I do believe the favorite is Skelly, and I would go with Skelly if I had to pick the winner. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Knight was actually able to capture the win. He was one of my fighters to watch out for in 2017 and 2016 as well. Since the first time I watched him fight, I thought he was exciting, especially for that guard pulling, not being scared of doing that. So, again, if Chaz is going to win this fight, I think he should stay on the outside, mix it up, and if he's going to go for takedowns, he should get Jason Knight against the cage. I don't think he should try to go for those outside shots or anything like that, especially since Jason Knight is not scared of pulling guard. If the more timing you give those guys and the more they know that the takedown is actually coming, they can set up that guard a little bit better, especially with that rubber guard, the Eddie Bravo type of guard, where they get their legs up there against their neck, against their back, against the shoulder, and trying to get that shoulder trap. So, you know, you definitely got to be aware of everything like that. And I think the takedowns against the cage, you get into a little bit safer positions for you to be protected against these crazy guards. And it actually is better for you to set up strikes as well as you take them down. And with the great wrestling experience, it's definitely a good idea. And when a guy's standing up from the cage, a lot of times you see these guys leaving their necks exposed when they're trying to get up. And with these long arms of Skelly, you got to be careful with those chokes. So I wouldn't be surprised if he can actually get the finish. But I think it's mostly going to be an all-out war that will end up into a decision. But my pick would be with Skelly if I had somebody to pick. But we'll see how everything happens. You know, it's the UFC. Anything can happen. But should be an exciting fight. All right, so the next fight we're going to go over, and this is the main event, which is Eddie Alvarez against Dustin Poirier. Another exciting fight that should be coming out of this card. Eddie Alvarez is the former champion that recently got knocked out by Conor McGregor in the lightweight division. He's still ranked number 3 in the UFC. He's actually number 2 in Fight Matrix, just behind Conor. He's 28-5 overall. 3-2 in the UFC, actually. He's already 33 years old, so he has a lot of experience, again, with a fighter with this many fights. Just because he only has 5 fights in the UFC, as you've heard previously, obviously, with the whole thing, with the whole Conor fight, a lot of people got to know Eddie Alvarez a little bit better. But he's a fighter that has a lot of experience outside of the UFC, fought all around the world against a lot of the greatest lightweights. Now came to the UFC and joined the ranks, got the title, but quickly lost it in his first defense against Conor in that knockout. His style is more boxing and wrestling. You know, we'll see how he actually does it against Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is another fighter that comes out of the great camp of American Top Team, which most of their fighters are very well-rounded. He's the 9th-ranked UFC lightweight fighter. He's actually number 17 on Fight Matrix. He's 21-5 overall, 13-4 in the UFC, only 28 years of old. You know, another ATT guy, uses more, his striking is more, you know, the boxing with some leg, combined with some leg kicks. Another great, he has some good submissions as well, mixes it up a lot of his stuff very, very well, uses distance, puts fighters against the cage, can do a lot of different things in the ring. He just needs to make sure he doesn't get into a wrestling match against Eddie Alvarez, in my opinion. I think he should try to stay a little bit more on the outside and try to strike with Eddie Alvarez more. Eddie Alvarez, on the other hand, needs to put the pressure on Dustin Poirier, make it more of a wrestling match, make it more of a dirty fight, use some dirty boxing, get to him, wear down on Dustin Poirier, and try to impose his will in order for him to get another win in the UFC. He needs that win for a pickup. I think if he loses another fight to Dustin Poirier, I just see him just falling down in the ranks. And it'll be tough for him to get back to the top in a very in a very tough lightweight division. I think this is a fight for Eddie that he needs to win, especially since Dustin Poirier is so below him in the rankings. Dustin Poirier is a very quality fighter, don't get me wrong. But I think if Eddie Alvarez wants to pursue the top, he needs to get this win against Dustin Poirier, especially after the humiliating knockout against Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor toyed with him in that match. He needs this win, especially for the mental toughness as well. And he's going to be 3-3 if he gets another loss in the UFC, which is, especially for a fighter. I know he's fighting only top-tier competition, but a fighter that comes with the name and try to become a champion, try to stay on the top of the division, he needs to be able to win these matches. Dustin Poirier, if he wants to get away from... being that gatekeeper type of guy. He needs to get a win against Eddie Alvarez. This will be a marquee win for Dustin Poirier to get to the top and try to get some matches higher up into the division, build up his name a little bit more. Not that he's not an unknown fighter, especially with 17 fights in the UFC, but it's just the fact that he needs to get wins against the top fighters in the lightweight division. I know a lot of his fights are in the featherweight division. He did pretty well there, but in order for him to be considered as a title contender, he needs to get wins against top fighters. And that's pretty much how it goes for this fight. I see Eddie getting the win just because I think Eddie is going to be coming... He's going to be coming really, really, really mad in this fight. He's going to be coming all out in this fight. And I think he's going to put everything he has in this fight. I think for Eddie Alvarez, this is a career-defining moment for him. A career-defining moment after your most embarrassing loss, especially against a guy that tries to get in your head and tries to humiliate you most of the time before the fight. I think it's a fight that he needs to win. He needs it more, and whoever wants it more here, whoever wants to make it to the main card of the big events, whoever wants to be considered for the title again, they need this win. And it's an exciting fight, and it's a fight that means a lot in the division. One guy, it means a lot. If Eddie loses this fight, he's gonna get dropped in the division by a lot. If Dustin Poirier wins, he's gonna shoot up the rankings. So it could be a game changer for each one of the guys, how they get seen in this division with the win. So definitely career moment for Dustin Poirier. So we'll see how it goes here for him. Definitely a big chance. Again, I see Eddie winning it, trying to getting that whole dirty fighting, getting him against the cage, dirty boxing him and bringing him down and putting the pressure on him. But again, it's MMA. Anything can happen. Anybody can get knocked out in the first punch. So I'm pretty excited. Hopefully you guys are as excited as I am for this event. It should definitely be another good one. Alright guys, so that's it for the UFC 211 Fight Prelims Preview video that's going to be going on FX on May 13th. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. I love talking about fights, so I'm going to definitely be making some other videos later. Subscribe to the channel so you guys get notified about those videos. The quality will be getting better as we go. I will be doing much better in my speaking as well, so thank you for the comment, guys. Please, again, if there's anything you guys believe that we need to do better in the channel, let me know as well. Always looking forward to the comments and people letting me know what I'm doing wrong and what I need to do in order to get better. This is for the MMA fans. This is by an MMA fan for the MMA fans. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this as much as I enjoy making it. I enjoy talking about fights, so definitely happy about the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. Later on, I'll be posting some videos too. I'm also going to be posting a preview with the Bellator video. I'm going to be posting some quick opinion videos later on with some of the issues in the mixed martial arts world later. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys later. Peace.